I am Julia of Arcturus, and I come to you now not as a distant voice, but as a friend and companion on your path of awakening. As you read these words, know that you are not alone. You are surrounded by energies that see you, that know you, and that deeply honor the courageous journey you are undertaking. We are here in this moment to speak about something that touches the core of your experience, the invisible walls you've built around yourself, often without realizing it, which hold you back from fully stepping into the fifth dimensional consciousness you long for. This shift into 5D isn't a fantasy or far-off dream. It's a birthright. It's a frequency already whispering through your being, waiting to be fully received, embodied, and lived. To experience a 5D reality is not simply to learn more spiritual concepts or do more inner work. It is about allowing more of the Creator's essence to move through you, to live through you, to flow unhindered in your daily life. When you step into that divine flow, everything begins to shift. Love becomes effortless. Synchronicity becomes natural. Abundance becomes your language. But from our perspective, there is one major barrier that many of you, especially those who identify as starseeds or awakened souls, continue to encounter. It is not a block imposed by the outside world. It is not caused by the government or your past or the planetary conditions around you. It is something far subtler. It is the unconscious habit of dimming your own connection to Source. We see so many of you beautiful, wise, compassionate beings who are still not living the fully abundant lives that are possible for you. And the reason is not because you are doing something wrong, but because somewhere along the way, you began to limit how much of the Creator's energy you let into your experience. You've been keeping your relationship with Source smaller than it was meant to be, perhaps out of fear or guilt or misunderstanding. And this self-imposed limitation often shows up in your physical world as struggle, scarcity, confusion, or stagnation. But this is not a judgment. It is simply an energetic observation. And here is the empowering truth. If you are the one who has placed the limitation, you also hold the key to remove it. We know how deeply you long to live with more joy, more freedom, more clarity. We see your intentions. We feel your prayers. And we are here to remind you that everything you desire is within reach, not because you need to strive harder or prove your worth, but because the divine light that can fulfill your every need is already flowing toward you. It always has been. The only thing that has ever stood in the way is resistance. Resistance built from old stories, spiritual dogmas, and deeply rooted misunderstandings about what it means to live as a divine being in a physical world. Many of you have asked, why would I block the very source that nourishes me? It is a beautiful and honest question. And the answer is not that you chose to sabotage yourself. Quite the opposite. In your search for truth, you followed what you believed would help you heal, grow, and evolve. Over time, a wide range of metaphysical teachings and spiritual philosophies have flowed through the collective. Many of them have been profound. Many have opened hearts and minds. But not all of them pointed you back to the ultimate foundation, that the direct connection to Source is everything. It is the master key. It is the portal through which every other teaching finds its power. You've been taught how to manifest, how to clear karma, how to raise your vibration, how to align your chakras, and all of these practices have value. But too often, the focus has been on techniques rather than on simply opening your heart to the loving presence of the divine. You see, it's not about doing everything right on the outside. It's about letting go enough to feel that the Creator already lives inside you. When that connection becomes your priority, not just a means to an end, but the end in itself, everything in your outer life begins to reflect that light. There was never a grand conspiracy to keep starseeds in lack, but there has been a quiet drift away from simplicity. In your pursuit of spiritual mastery, you've sometimes forgotten the most childlike truth. God is love. Love is abundance. And you are that love, forever connected to the source of all things. When you truly allow the connection, your life becomes a living prayer. Not a struggle, not a performance, but a natural unfolding of grace. We also want to speak to a pattern we've seen, one that runs deep in the spiritual community. So many of you who carry high consciousness still find yourselves struggling with money, health, relationships, or purpose. And while some have accepted this as a normal part of the spiritual path, we are here to tell you, it doesn't have to be this way. Somewhere in your journey, many of you absorbed an old paradigm, one that whispers, to be spiritual, you must live with less. That material comfort and spiritual depth cannot coexist. That suffering somehow equals virtue. This belief has echoes in many religious traditions, where poverty was seen as purity and desire was seen as ego. But this is not the fifth dimensional truth. The Creator has never asked you to shrink. Source is not glorified by your struggle. You do not earn your worth by denying your own needs. In fact, when you allow yourself to receive more from the infinite well of divine light that is always available, you become more of what you were sent here to be. Your abundance serves not just you, but the world. When you are nourished, you can nourish others. When you are overflowing with joy, your joy uplifts the collective. This is why we urge you to let go of any guilt around wanting more. Wanting is not the problem, disconnect is. Reconnect first, and all else will flow. Let us be clear, abundance is not the goal. Connection is. But abundance is one of the many gifts that naturally come when you are deeply connected. The outer world reflects your inner flow. Money, opportunity, inspiration, these are not rewards for good behavior. They are reflections of how open your heart is to Source. When you open fully, you will find that the universe responds effortlessly. But if something is missing in your outer experience, it is not because the divine has forgotten you. It is because some part of you has not yet said yes to receiving that aspect of God. Imagine it like a garden. Source is the rain, always pouring, always nourishing. But if your inner gate is only half open, the soil stays dry. The flowers cannot bloom. When you swing that gate wide, without hesitation, without condition, the rain comes in and everything begins to grow. Not because you earned it, but because you finally allowed it. And so, we ask you, when you sit in prayer, meditation, or stillness, what is your intention? Are you coming to Source as a beloved? Or are you approaching only to ask for things? There is no shame in desire. But when your relationship with the divine becomes transactional, your energy becomes split. Your focus stays on what you lack, rather than on the presence that transcends all lack. And this, ironically, keeps you from receiving. Try, instead, to seek connection for its own beauty. Come to the Creator with no agenda but love. Rest in that presence. Be with God not to get, but to become. And as you do, you'll find the things you once chased start showing up at your door. Not because you asked harder, but because you aligned deeper. We say this with great love. You were never meant to live a small life. You were never meant to dim your light, to silence your joy, to shrink your dreams. You are a divine spark of the infinite, and your natural state is not lack, it is radiance. Your soul came here not to survive, but to thrive. Not to withdraw from the world, but to infuse it with the frequency of heaven. If you've been living modestly, thinking it makes you more spiritual, let us now release you from that belief. Simplicity can be beautiful, but you are also allowed to have more. More comfort, more creativity, more love, more laughter. You are not here to prove your worth through sacrifice. You are here to demonstrate the generosity of the Creator through your being. And so we say again, open the valve, let the light in. Let go of the barriers that no longer serve you. Stop waiting to be worthy, you already are. Allow your life to reflect the truth of who you are, a radiant, abundant, limitless expression of divine love and form. We are with you in every step of this unfolding. You are not alone. You are deeply seen, and you are infinitely loved. You are made of the very essence of the divine, infinitely abundant, endlessly creative, boundlessly loving, and forever expanding. That isn't just poetic language. It's the absolute truth of who you are at your core. You are not some separate creation trying to earn love or scrape together enough to survive. You are an extension of Source itself, designed to not only witness the vastness of the universe, but to embody and live it. You are here to experience what it means to create, to thrive, to overflow with the richness of life in every form imaginable. When we talk about abundance, we don't just mean money or possessions, although those certainly have their place. Abundance is about far more. It's about a deep well of love that never runs dry, about vibrant energy pulsing through your body, about the overflow of creative ideas and beautiful connections. It's about support showing up in the most unexpected ways and feeling guided and held by something larger than yourself. It's knowing that you are never alone and that everything you need is already on its way to you, simply because you exist. In the higher realms, the non-physical dimension from which your soul emerged, there is no concept of lack. Scarcity doesn't exist. There's no measuring, no comparing, no needing to hustle for your worth. Your soul knows this. In its purest state, it lives in a place where the very nature of reality is fullness, wholeness, and endless giving. But in choosing to experience this earthly incarnation, you agreed to step into a reality where limitation appears real, where separation is part of the game, and where the journey is to remember the truth through the illusion. You took on human beliefs, family patterns, societal conditioning, all of which whispered that there wasn't enough to go around, that you had to compete, that you had to earn, that you had to suffer to be spiritual. These are illusions so deeply ingrained that they often feel like truth, but they are not. And your journey, your awakening, is about unraveling those old stories and coming home to the light you've always been. The more you remember who you are, a spark of infinite source, a vessel for divine energy, the more you begin to shed those inherited limitations. They simply start to fall away. Limitation was never your truth. Scarcity is not in your DNA. You are literally formed from the fabric of God, love, light, and creative power. Within that divine material is the template for limitless expansion. The power that created galaxies lives in you. You're not just a part of the universe, you are a walking, breathing embodiment of it. And yet, how often do you downplay your desires? How often do you silence your intuition or deny yourself the things that would bring you joy? You were not sent here to be small. There is no cosmic reward for suffering. You do not earn spiritual points by being in lack. In fact, the more you thrive, the more you fulfill your divine mission. You are here to transform the physical, to bring the light of the Creator into this dense reality through your human hands, your human heart, and your human voice. You are here to remember. And as you remember, lack begins to look absurd. It no longer makes sense in the presence of who you truly are. You begin to see it for what it is, a story, a temporary distortion in your field. And the moment you choose to no longer energize that story, you invite Source to flood into every aspect of your life. It responds instantly, not because you begged or approved yourself, but because you remembered to receive. This is why aligning with the divine must become your first priority. Not out of religious duty or moral obligation, but because it changes everything. When you place your relationship with Source at the center of your life, you open the door for divine energy to move freely through you. You're saying, in essence, yes, I welcome you into every corner of my experience. I want your presence in my work, in my body, in my relationships, in my finances, in my dreams. And Source always says yes back. Always. You start to feel different, more grounded, more inspired, more at ease. And your outer world begins to reflect that inner shift. Opportunities show up. Ideas flow. People enter your life who feel like soul family. It's not magic, it's alignment. You've allowed divine flow to move through you without resistance, and that flow reshapes your reality. You don't chase blessings anymore. You become the frequency of blessing, and the world mirrors it back to you. Let's also be crystal clear. This isn't just about manifesting more stuff. Abundance is so much more than material wealth. It's the richness of deep friendships. The creativity that wakes you up in the middle of the night, buzzing with inspiration. It's the feeling of being fully alive in your body, filled with energy and vitality. It's the peace of knowing you have time to do what matters to you. It's the joy of walking in alignment with your soul's purpose. And yes, it includes money too, not as a reward, but as a natural extension of the energy you are radiating. In a fifth dimensional reality, this is how life operates. There's no fear of not having enough because you live in connection with the eternal wellspring of Source. You understand that the supply was never outside of you. It flows through you because you are one with it. You don't try to force outcomes. You trust. You allow. You move with inspired action. And you watch the universe meet you with more grace than you ever thought possible. And here's the truth we wish to pour into your heart. You did not come here to scrape by. You did not incarnate in this lifetime to live in a state of constant struggle, just hoping to make it through. That is not your soul's vision for you. You came here with purpose. You came here to co-create something radiant. You came here to shine. You were brave enough to choose this earth walk because you knew, on a soul level, that you could bring the light of the heavens into the physical world in a way no one else could. Your perspective, your energy, your voice, they're irreplaceable. And when you step into that truth, everything begins to align. Your needs are met, your path opens, and your impact ripples outward. This is not a pipe dream. It's your soul's blueprint. And that blueprint never included you suffering in silence to prove your devotion. It never said you had to be broke, broken, or burnt out to serve the light. Quite the opposite. When you are thriving, when you are lit up with passion and joy, you serve the light more powerfully than ever before. When you flourish, you become a living example. You show others what is possible when someone walks in harmony with their divine self. Your life becomes a kind of map, an energetic permission slip for others to do the same. That is how you help lift the collective. Not by shrinking, but by shining. And so, you are invited to walk this path with courage and softness. To keep tuning inward. To keep remembering that the same light that made the stars lives in your chest. Every time you close your eyes and breathe into your heart, you have the chance to reconnect with it. You are never more than a breath away from that divine spark. As you deepen that connection, you will begin to see where you've been holding back. Maybe you've been saying, "I can't," without even realizing it. Maybe you've been trying to control everything instead of trusting the current. Maybe you've been giving your power away to fear, to other people's opinions, to past experiences. That's okay. This is not about judgment, it's about awareness. And awareness is the first step toward freedom. Once you see the block, you can choose again. You can offer it up to Source. You can say, "I'm ready to release this. I trust that something greater is moving through me now." And just like that, the energy shifts. Light floods in. Possibility opens. You remember who you are. And so, beloved soul, let this be a sacred invitation back to your truth. You are not here to survive. You are here to create, to expand, to live as the divine being you've always been. You are here to bring heaven to earth, not in some far-off future, but now. Through your words, through your choices, through your willingness to live fully. You are deeply loved, eternally supported, infinitely powerful. And if you've been looking for a sign to step into that truth, this is it. Welcome home.